to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. It is Monday, June 20th, and it's hot outside. I don't know if you've been outside yet. Maybe you're just waking up because you set your alarm and you live your life around the schedule of Sound Off. I know there's probably millions of you that do that. So if you're just waking up and you go outside, you're going to notice it's really hot outside. So drink lots of water, take care of yourself, because I don't want you passing on. I want you to be with me for the next coming years as we do this show, because I don't know about you, but I have an approval addiction, and I need you to listen to this show and have more listeners to Dennis Siddell. It's really the only thing I want in life, is to have more listeners on my show than Dennis has on him. So we do that. I'm pretty sure maybe triple or quadruple the amount of listeners that Dennis has. Not Joe. When Joe speaks, there's far more listeners. But when Dennis speaks, we get a lot more. So anyway, glad to have you here on Sound Off today. We've got Sound Off on Sports. I'm so excited about today's show. I'm going to be honest with you. I like talking politics. I like talking about what's going on in the community. But I also really, really like sports. And so we're going to be talking about local sports, lots of local stories going on. And in the studio with me, I've got Jim Peters, local journalist and owner of Jim Peters Preps. Is that right?
Yes.
.com. And honestly, Jim, I went to your site and read a bunch of your backstories yesterday, and I try to check in regularly enough. Such good journalism, and I don't mean
Thank
that
you.
like even tritely. It is really good stuff, some really good stories that aren't necessarily always there's an angle to them that isn't always covered
Correct, right.
in the news. So how are you doing? Welcome. You just got into the studio, so if you're out of breath, welcome to being in the Out of Breath Club.
Oddly enough, I'm not. And as hot as it is today, I think it's going to be worse tomorrow. So probably
It's
better.
98,
today.
I hear. 98.
Yeah. We put in a pool a couple of weeks ago. So I'm brainstorming. My wife, who teaches summer school and likes to come home at noon, about when usually everybody else is getting up and jump in the pool and relax. And
So a pool party at Jim Peters' house?
absolutely, sure, yeah, come on over. Yeah, I'm not in charge, but hey, sure, why not?
All right, so let's give a little background for you. How long have you been covering local sports here in Northwest Indiana?
I've let's see, I started when I was 19 at Purdue, so that doesn't qualify as a local.
Yeah.
At 22, so let's see, 37 years.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah, so I started out in a chain of weekly papers in Lake and Porter County, graduated to the Times in 1998, spent 20 years there, and started in LaPorte County's fringy for the Times, and it kind of always was, but I'd like to get out here. I'd come out here and cover events and meet great people, and when the career change or the direction change in the career happened in 2018, just about 4 years ago, I became more intimate. Is that okay?
Yep.
to say? Intimate with LaPorte County.
I say way worse things. You're fine.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, personal maybe. Maybe personal might be better than intimate. But yeah, so it's going on 4 years out here. I still live out that way, which partially explains the tardiness. I won't blame it on the lane restrictions and the construction and so forth. And I've learned how to get around the future roundabouts at 2 and 421 there. So I've learned.
You've taken the courses, the required courses to get around the roundabouts.
I've never been on Coulter Road until like the last couple of weeks.
All right.
I figured out where
You're seeing the
Coulter
back
Road.
country.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. It's very nice. It's very nice.
So, if you have a question for Jim, you're welcome to call the Liquor Vault on air line at 219-362-0522. But I want to get into some stories. So, locally, I've noticed this thing, and tell me if I'm wrong in my noticing. There is an increase in administrators either continuing on as coaches,
Yeah.
and or getting hired as an administrator and becoming a coach. I say this because I was talking to a good friend of mine, Mark Schreiber, and he was saying at one point his dad got offered the athletic director spot at LaPorte.
Sure.
And the whole agreement though is if you take the athletic director spot, you can't coach baseball.
Can't coach baseball, right.
That kind of, and I don't think there's any rules. I don't know if there's anything with the Department of Education.
Yeah,
we're seeing this now far more. I know my former neighbor, when I was growing up, Ben Anderson is the girls basketball coach at South Central and the new superintendent at South Central.
How about him?
Scott Upp is the baseball coach at LaPorte and the new principal at LaPorte High School, these kind of things. Doug Eubank at Westville.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts on that? Is I guess the reason why stated before was in order to do your job, right, as a superintendent, principal, assistant principal, or whatever, it'd be very hard to do that and
Correct.
the amount of time spent coaching. Were we false to believe that, do you think? Or is it just some special people can probably do it?
Yes, I think it absolutely takes a special person, but I think it's just in education. I think the climate has dictated this, that just maybe there aren't as many qualified people. You look at candidates and feel like, okay, maybe we're better off trying this, and if that person is willing to do that juggling act, then hey, let's give it a spin. It worked out well for Ben last year. He had a great
school,
first season. And the school, and I guess more importantly in the grand scheme, is the school's still up and running.
Exactly.
The school didn't crumble. So, and they had a great season. So, he was looking for Dr. Stevens to stick around another year or two, and the anticipation was, and Ben's been on track to from athletic director to assistant to elementary principal to high school principal, and eventually wanted to be a superintendent. But heck, you're looking at a guy who's 35 years old, and he's going to be at the top of the South Central Corporation food chain there. But he's going to continue to coach the girls basketball team at least for another year. And I think his inclination is to maybe do a little more than that. And Ben doesn't have a lot of outside stuff going on in his life.
So is education.
He's unattached. So that's the beauty of it for him. He doesn't have. I don't say beauty necessarily, but he other things going on, so he's able to do that. And I just think there's the quality of people around, and you get somebody who's willing to do something like that. You grab a hold of them and you don't let go of them, and you keep them as long as you can.
I think that's a good point. I mean, when we're struggling to get educators as a whole, right? And so,
for sure,
I know just anecdotally talking to some local administrators from different school systems, 10, 15, 20 years ago, they might get 6, 7 applicants for a position. Right. Now they might only get 2, for even a coaching position. Yeah. So it can be really difficult. I want to talk a little bit about LaPorte County had a pretty good baseball season as a whole. South Central did really well. LaPorte obviously had a good season, though. I was going through some of the, what LaPorte is losing, what LaPorte has coming back. What is your feeling? Is LaPorte losing a ton next year? Do you think they're going to be able to continue on the momentum? Is this, has Scott Upp really built something strong that is going to propel them? Obviously, they've got RJ Anglin coming back. They've got, I think Cade Flores is coming back.
Right.
So they've got some strong, but they also lost a couple people.
Sure.
What's your take on this season and the future of LaPorte baseball?
Yeah, they're going to be fine. They'll be okay. You lose a lot of pitching with Cam Worthington and Shane Weaver. 12, 13 wins, 75, 80 thereabouts. Innings between them, and that's a lot. In high school baseball, you got to have guys who can throw the ball, and if before anything else, obviously you got to field and hit too, but if you don't have the pitching, it's just not going to happen. But RJ, developed into a really quality, a dependable pitcher, primarily in a relief role as the season progressed. Coming back from his second ACL injury, he's just going to continue to improve. And they're going to lean some on a JV team that was maybe lost 2 games.
Okay.
So the JV is really, really strong. Another Flores at that level. Drew, I believe.
Keep them coming, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just trickling down from Dad, who was the state champion 20-some years ago, and the kids are just like him in regards to ability and multi-sport athletes, and they'll be okay. Yeah, they're gonna some good bats. Tommy Samuelson's in there. Carter Moses returns at catcher. Caden George, an infielder. A few other guys in there. So they graduate some guys, but. Scott recalibrated a handful of years ago. The area had kind of, or the Duneland Conference and so forth, had kind of caught up and actually passed LaPorte by a little bit, and he had to adjust some things in terms of what kids do in the off season. And says, "What are we doing here?" It got to the point. There was a point in time where theoretically, or just you could just about say LaPorte could just throw their gloves out there, and they were going to beat teams because they were LaPorte, and you came over to Schreiber Field, and you just didn't win. But that is that had changed, and and a 500 year out here is rioting in the streets.
Yep.
And a lot of 500 season in Michigan City, they might build the coach a statue, but at LaPorte it's like, okay, suddenly Scott Up is doesn't know
he doesn't know how to coach
2
anymore.
hoots about baseball. And they say, you get a couple good kids back, you figure some things out as far as the summers go, and it's like, oh, you're a genius again. It's like like Joe Madden one year, he was we all loved him and he was great, and the next year this guy couldn't coach his way out of a T-ball game. So
fans are fickle, right?
Nothing
else. And I
there's
include myself in that.
That's the beauty and the ugliness of it, all wrapped up into one.
Well, we're going to take our first commercial break. If you want to call and talk about local sports, if you have a question, you're welcome to call us. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. We're going to come back, talk about some LaPorte football, Bob James, these kind of things. You're also welcome to text me, 219-362-0522. Or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. Hey, I'm glad to have you listening today. Glad to have you with us on the show. Drink lots of water and keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Your hometown credit union. People helping people. First Trust Credit Union.
It's time to rev those engines. First Trust Credit Union and Uptown Limited Auto Sales are teaming up again for their on-site car sale at First Trust Michigan City Branch. 4 days only, Tuesday, June 21st through Friday, June 24th. No application fees, low interest rates, and no payments for 90 days, plus free gifts and a $50 gas card with every vehicle purchased. New members are welcome, and loan officers will be on-site for on-the-spot financing. So come on over to First Trust Credit Union, 950 East U.S. Highway 20 in Michigan City to shop early. It's a team effort between Uptown Limited Auto Sales and First Trust Credit Union. June 21st through June 24th. Sale hours Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. For details, visit our website, firsttrustcu.com. All loans subject to credit approval with rates, loan amounts, and terms based on consumer credit scoring system. Interest will accrue during the 90 days payment is deferred.
When construction companies pay their workers cash under the table, Hoosiers lose out. By not paying their fair share, these companies are stealing over $405 million a year from Hoosiers. Do you know what $405 million a year could do for your community? 8,741 state troopers, 7,937 teachers, 325 miles of resurfaced highways, 112 miles of expanded highway, 783 small business loans, 9,722 new jobs. That's a whole lot of losses. Visit indianacip.com/tax fraud to learn how you can take a stand.
For over 50 years, LaPorte has trusted Cannon's Automotive Service for prompt, efficient, same-day service. And that same Cannon's commitment extends to area businesses who rely on a fleet of one or many to take your goods or service to the customer. Whether it's the truck or trailer that needs maintained or fixed, trust Cannon's Automotive to maximize your productivity with same-day service. Now with 2 Cannon's locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
350 vehicles in stock now at Auto Park Ford. AutoParkFord.com. 350 new and pre-owned vehicles, all at low auto park pricing. Brand new F-150s, 250s, Explorers, Edge, Expeditions, Mustangs, Eco Sports, and so much more. In stock now. And get $2,000 off all new car orders. $2,000 off. Plus acres of pre-owned vehicles. All makes, all models, all at low auto park pricing. Auto Park Ford. AutoParkFord.com. It's not just a dealership, it's an auto park. Come find the exact vehicle you've been looking for today. Brand new Fords in stock now. More arriving daily. And $2,000 off all new car orders. Plus acres of pre-owned vehicles. It's not just a dealership, it's an auto park. Auto Park Ford. In Sturgis, Bremen, and LaPorte. AutoParkFord.com. AutoParkFord.com. Discounts on select models. See dealer for details to qualified buyer.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Ball on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. You are listening to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle. My name is Nate Laux. I'm your host, and we're here together till about 1 o'clock. And we've got Jim Peters here in the studio talking about local high school sports. I want to talk about one of the stories that I think surprised some, but, it blew up. LaPorte has a new high school football coach, and his name is Bob James, and he's an interim, I think, correct?
Technically, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so,
right.
Bob James, for our listeners that might not know, longtime assistant coach at LaPorte, right? And LaPorte lost their last coach. What happened? LaPorte continues to cycle through a lot of coaches.
Yeah, it's kind of been a series of coincidences, and they all kind of add up. Ultimately, though, you end up with you're going on year 1, 2, 3, 4 since Coach Sellinger retired after the state finalist team in 2014. Dave Sharp, Jeremy Lowry, and Dave Ortiz. Dave Sharp would probably still have been here, except for the tragic turn of events in his family and the loss of a child. And he had an opportunity to get back into coaching and continue to work with Riley, which was a godsend for their family as they were going through what they were going through. So and then I think with Jeremy Lowry, that was a situation where it was a facilities thing. He just saw. LaPorte's on the lower half of the Duneland Conference. I mean that
is one of the things you have is you get to see all the other facilities. Things.
And it's like he comes from Penn. He was downstate at Paoli and had success there. And he's looking around and said, "We need better facilities. Our football's a numbers game. You got to be bigger. You got to be stronger. You got to be faster. And how do you do that? You get in the weight room and all that. They just did not have the facilities to match up to these palaces that Crown Point and Lake Central and some other the affluent end of the Duneland Conference has, and teams you're competing with in the postseason like Penn. So he had an opportunity to go somewhere. He went back to a small school in southern Indiana, and part of it was to be closer to his family. But it's kind of a shock when a coach goes from a 5A school back to a 2A school that was in a rebuilding situation. So it's kind of like you got to wonder a little bit, and then. David had an opportunity to reunite with his high school coach Craig Bazia out at Crown Point, and again it was dollars. Crown Point has an all-star assistant coaching staff with half a dozen former head coaches on it. They got practically a coach for every kid, and it's David's a younger guy, large growing family, and it's the opportunity to better himself from a financial standpoint. It's a step back in terms of responsibility. He's going to be a position coach, but as a position coach at Crown Point, he might get paid more than as the head coach at LaPorte. In terms of his the ability to be a teacher, there's people out there who think the coaching part is the job, the teaching part is the job, and these people probably make about what a journalist makes, or local sports journalist makes, on the dollar per hour ratio. So. But he had an opportunity just to get into that system as a teacher and make money there, and I believe the same goes for his wife. So it was an improvement for their family from that standpoint, and Yeah, again, you can't necessarily fault a guy there. The problem there was it was late in the process. You're already, getting in. You're well into the off season there, and here's good old Bob. Bob's always been there. Bob is gonna do whatever needs to be done. He's bridged the gap every single time there's been a transition. He applied the first time, did not get an interview. That did not sit well, but Bob kind of swallowed hard and stayed with it. And the next couple of times, did not apply this time around. He felt there was the need to do it, and he applied, and then the drama kind of began. So
now you've talked to Bob. Did Bob expect this amount of outpouring in the community? It was nothing like I've seen on social media.
Oh, it was incredible. Incredible. I had to think back the last time a coaching situation like this happened, and something like this occurred, and I don't know, at least from something I've covered, that I can remember anything like that. And I can't say he did expect it, but he knows he's got a lot of people close to him. I mean, you're an offensive line coach, but like any place, you got some people for you, you got some people against you. But he's incredibly popular. Kids would go to bat for him 100 times out of 100, and but he just just this loyalty through the whole process. It's like if you got this had happened to him a couple weeks ago, how many people would have said, okay, I'm done? He had opportunities to go somewhere else that night. I mean, he was literally getting text messages that night, calls and well forth. The heck with them, coming over to here. And I won't name schools, but you could figure a few out. You don't have to look real far to take a guess of who's you've been looking to add an offensive line coach with over 30 years in the profession, who has produced college players left and right, and not just college players, but quality human beings have gone on to do great things.
So the thing that if I was Bob James, I'd be worried about, I'd be excited about the opportunity to head coach. But this is they were 2-8 last year, right? Not a great season. I don't think anybody would argue it was a great season. Yeah. They had some good performances, right? Colin Bergquist, these kind, but they're losing a ton, right? Especially they're losing Colin Bergquist, they're losing Jaden Parks, they're losing Grant At-Large, Gavin Zolvinski. These, I mean, some really good players.
Yeah, that was a senior class that there were pretty high expectations for, and I don't know if David overreached in terms of expectations with enthusiasm and so forth, because it's also obviously relative to who you're going against too. But you don't have those guys walking through the door now. The cupboards are relatively bare.
That's why I was looking at the roster.
You have some good kids. It looks like RJ's gonna play. RJ wants to. RJ plays as many sports as he possibly could. I think you could play 6 sports. RJ would play 6 sports, but he's a difference maker. But he's surgically repaired knee twice. He can't be running around for his life there. He's got to have some linemen. But who else but Bob James to find five pardon the expression, lumps of clay to mold into blockers for the guy, and RJ can do some great things given the opportunity by the pieces around them. So it's high school football too. The talent disparity isn't what it is in college and the pros, obviously. So you can win a few games just on some intangible things. So but you look at it on the surface, you go down the schedule, and you'd be checking boxes a lot more on the right side than you would on the left side. But there's also, I believe, and there's a gentleman's agreement that what happens in the future isn't going to be based on wins and losses. It's the image of the program. The kid's going to be doing the right things. The coach going to be doing the right things too, because they want him kind of towing the line there as far as what they're looking for too. So they'll be fine in that regard. And I think. And I don't know, hopefully you're not this situation, next summer and looking at the same thing again. But that possibility does exist. But I think there's, a handshake agreement that he'll be able to run with this going forward unless anything unforeseen develops. And this is a shot. He actually had. I didn't realize he had until I talked to him the other night. He was gracious enough to let me into his home with the rust orange paint. I said I could have figured out. Oh, this is the James house. So son Tyler was there and wife Mary, and we had a nice talk and sat there, talked for 30, 45 minutes and just about it. And he's just a beautiful human being in regards to how he cares about kids and wants the best for kids. And he's like, he was going to stay. I mean, they could have voted him down again and he wasn't going to leave. And at some point in time, it's like, dang, Bob, would you just take another job? We just feel so bad, badly. It's like, how many times you get kicked in the teeth that somebody's going to spit on you and say, you do it again, I'm going to stay anyway. But he took those kids to Trine the week after it went down, him and a bunch of the staff. And what more can a coach ask for from his athletes than what he is giving to LaPorte High School and the LaPorte football program? So again, those kids are gonna fight for their coach, and that can go a decent way.
We've got Jim Peters in the studio. If you've got a question, 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call or text me. We got a question coming in here. What do you know about the new girls basketball coach at Westville?
He's 87 years old. He's an incredible basketball mind. Jerry Hoover runs the D1 camps. He's coached all over Indiana. I walked in there the other day, obviously, as I was today, I was a little late. So usually I tell my wife about that. So 10 minutes late for me is typically on time. But anyway, so I see this older gentleman sitting there talking to the kids, and Drew Eubanks is there. So we're standing there, and I said, sorry I'm late. I said, what's going on here? I just saw somebody's grandpa just chatting up the kids. They're waiting on the coach to come in. But he has some. Drew went to Logansport. Jerry coached at Logansport. Had Whitney Jennings was a Miss Basketball. Had some great success there. Been successful all over the state in rebuilding programs. Mark Parkman, the former coach at Westville, school board member, had taken teams to Jerry's D1 camps, who I think are going on this week. And Jerry reached out to them, said, "Hey, I want to coach. I want to be your basketball coach." He lives on a farm in Monticello, with his wife, and got 200 acres, and used to have some Angus cattle, and he's just been all over the place.
He's not done yet, though.
He's not done yet. And he gave me the Bear Bryant story. I got a story running tomorrow on it. The Bear Bryant story. Remember, Bear Bryant said, the day I stopped coaching, I'm gonna die. And a handful of weeks later, Bear Bryant died. And Jerry believes the same thing. I'm here to coach, and I mean, it's just incredible. I appreciate any opportunity to get more intelligent, because God knows I need it. But I spent an hour and a half just sitting there talking to him, and only 30 minutes of it was live for interview purposes. But man, oh man, I walked out of there and said, boy, I'm a lot smarter than I was an hour ago. It'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's 87. I just hope to be 87 someday. But the ability will be like in any sport to connect, because it's more so than just the knowledge of it, is the ability to connect. I mean, if I knew everything about the game of basketball, but if I couldn't reach kids, then all that is pretty useless. And if I could connect the kids and I didn't know what a pick and roll was, then that's not good either. But the guy knows basketball inside out, and it'll be ability to connect with the kids. And these kids went from a really great young coach in Grace Roach, who's on the fast track to do really good things in her career, to somebody 60 years older than her and a man. So that's a pretty big change for difference. 15 to 18-year-old kids. And I think a big part of it will be who they're able to bring in as an assistant coach to help him out, and to kind of bridge that communication gap. Because let's be honest, there's going to be some disconnect there. But it's bold. I give him that. I mean, it's an incredibly big swing on their part, but I give them credit for it, and it'll be fun.
We've got Jim Peters here in the studio. Thanks so much for those questions. We're going to take our next break. If you have a question for Jim Peters, 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call or text me. We got about 12 minutes left on the show. We're going to take our final break of the day. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Ben Conowitz here, owner of LaPorte Seamless Gutter. My parents started LaPorte Seamless Gutter in 1982 with one goal in mind, really. Our customers' 100% satisfaction. And we are still providing the same customer service that Tim and Seal Conowitz started all those years ago. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com. 219-362-9972.
The pandemic has hit everyone hard, some more than others, and if you find yourself struggling with debt, wage garnishment, foreclosures, or lawsuits, attorney David Ambers and his staff are here to relieve your stress. A fresh start is just a phone call away. Call the office of David Ambers, attorney at law, and schedule a free bankruptcy consultation. The number is 219-325-9917. David Ambers, attorney at law, 601 State Street, Suite B in LaPorte. Call them today, 219-325-9917.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Hear Renee's story at Deere.com.
Visit Frontier Lawn and Rec at 3151 Frontage Road in Michigan City, or request a quote at frontierlawnrec.com.
Hey, who's hungry? Because I've got a deal for you. Dennis Siddell here to introduce you something new to the Morning Mayhem. Every weekday at 6:55, it's Denny's Diner. Yep, Joe and I will cook up some trivia questions, and if you have the correct answer, you'll be the winner of a $20 gift card from either JJ's Sideout Bar and Grill, the Burger Bar and Grill, JJ's Pizza Shack, Wanna Pizza, or Nowhere Bar and Grill. So join us weekdays for Denny's Diner at 6:55 on the Morning Mayhem for your chance to win here on 96.7 The Eagle.
Your forecast on 96.7 The Eagle brought to you by Harmon Expert Auto Service. If you're looking for a local and quality auto repair company, then look no further than Harmon Expert Auto with 2 locations in LaPorte, 308 Washington or 111 Brighton Streets. Visit their website at harmonexpertautoservice.com or call 325-0444.
Michiana weather.
Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 90. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, lows around 64. Clear skies tomorrow, 97. From the Weather Center at HometownNewsNow.com. Right now, 84.
Thank you for tuning in to Sound Off. You can now text or email your questions directly to the studio. Call or text 362-0522 or email your questions to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is Sound Off.
Welcome back, friends, to our final segment of Sound Off. We're doing a Sound Off on sports today. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call or text me if you've got a question for our guest, Jim Peters. Here's a comment that was sent in. Schools like LaPorte and South Central are fortunate to have people like Scott and Ben to assume administrative positions and remain in coaching. Anyone that doesn't see that as a good thing, sorry, I'm having trouble reading today, has their head buried in the sand. Plus, we were very lucky to have Jim Peters on the sports beat. Did you pay somebody to send that or no?
Is that from Anita, CJ, Cameron, Carolyn? That would be Carolyn Perry, actually, not Peters. She got married recently. So,
all right, here's a question for you. We've got 2 questions here. First one, what is your opinion on why LaPorte cycles through so many coaches? We do have some new coaches coming
sure,
in,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Aaron Shark, girls basketball, old friend of mine from the business. T.R. Harlan is the volleyball coach. Jordan Heckert is relatively new, and
we talked about the football coaches,
boys basketball, football. with Bob, new but old in that sense, or been around. So, there's a climate. There's toxicity might be a little strong of a word, but coaches just are having to deal with a lot, and you have unfortunately you have a fan culture out there. Everybody's kid's a star, and I don't want to condemn everybody and say everybody's that way, but there's enough of an element out there where coaches that have an opportunity to do something else and just say, I just want to deal with this anymore. How well do we have to do? And it's not even necessarily about winning, because you look at the volleyball program, perennially successful, here's a coach that runs into issues there, and in terms of not winning enough, or my kid and that I know everybody wants their kid to be the star, but at some point in time you either take the role and go with it on a team, or you don't. And
Mark Schreiber, Parks Department Superintendent, was on the show not too long ago, and he was mentioning, even at the Little League level, having to warn parents because they're getting, kind of violent in their words more than anything, but getting very angry at coaches, but also umpires, these kind of things.
And we could get into a million things on why that is, and that I don't have enough time for me to get off on that tangent, but it happened. You only have to go over to a field and seeing the little kids hitting the ball off the tee or something, or Biddy Ball or Pop Warner, to see why this happens at a higher level. And you see a lot of coaches leave now because they have a better opportunity. You're seeing coaches go into administration or leave coaching. Just sometimes it's money, regular hours, family. But for every time I've had a coach tell me they're leaving for family reasons, 90% of the time it's because they're tired of getting their ear chewed off and being told this or that, or going through the politics of a school board situation or something like that. And it's just I think unfortunately the fun has been sucked out of it a lot for coaches, because you get into it because you love kids and you love your sport, and something is sapping that passion for them, because you see young enthusiastic people like Sarah Deshone and Jessica Ramirez, who just boundless energy and wanting to help kids get better, but they're hitting a figurative wall there, and it's just like you need a change, or you just need to get out of it. And I just think again it speaks to a culture that's out there, and it's just tough to deal with. So anybody that stays in it for any length of time these days, I really salute them, because they've either got some magic formula or they're just able to really tolerate a lot. And then you got a coach who's gonna not only do that but be a principal too. So, and the stuff you deal with on a daily basis, man, oh man, that's more testable fortitude than I could hope to ever have.
We've got Jim Peters here on the show. Jim's local journalist for sports and runs JimPetersPreps.com as well. Here's another question for you that came in on our text line. If you've got a question, 219-362-0522, you can call or text me. Hey guys, what's the outlook on Slicer basketball? Who'd they lose? Who's coming in the next few years?
I think the arrow's pointing up. You got a lot of kids coming back. The system's been established. Jordan's a great guy. Jordan is just a good. We throw the word culture around a lot, but they're a good guy, enthusiastic guy, and I think had made a good connection with the kids last year. You graduate. Grant at large, and then I'm cycling through the names.
So you got
Kyle Kirkham, thank you.
Yep.
Malik Corley,
Jamarian
Cross, Tommy Samuelson,
Ryan Kishkowski.
Another boy. There's a kid there that's got a tremendous upside. I like where they're headed. I think the coming year's going to be good, and you're going to have some opportunities for some success there. The sectional's going to be fairly wide open, I believe, and there's some athletic ability and some experience now that they're going to have a combination of that they haven't had in a few years. So, they were right around 500 last year. I would, certainly
11 and 12. I think
I would certainly expect them to push to win. Maybe 15, 16 games. I don't think that's out of the question as far as conference goes. I don't know. I think
the problem. The conference is the DAC is just such a good conference.
It's a buzzsaw. I think they can push to be in the upper tier there, and they're gonna. I think compete for a sectional title. They well equipped, and the other factor is we keep going back to RJ Anglin. RJ Anglin's a pretty darn good basketball player too. That is an incredible athlete to put out on the court in a mix with those other players, and they're going to be able to get up and down and do some things. And I think it's going to be a fun year in that regard.
Final question for you from our listener: what do you make of New Prairie football for this coming fall?
They've got to replace about 1,500 or so pounds on the offensive line, with about 3.25 of those going to the U of I Champaign and Hunter Whitenack. I mean, that's where it all starts. You
Get those big uglies up there.
They got some dudes. I mean, those are some massive human beings. So I think they've got some more coming in. I mean, they're going to
running back. They've got that running back.
Yeah,
right?
Noah Mungia, and then the quarterback Marshall Kamichek, I believe. Yeah, there's
a couple Kamicheks.
There's some Kamicheks there, and there's a younger one, I think, Wyatt. I had one point in time, it's like I wondered if the dad had a Western. I had my son mention, my son CJ covered them quite a bit. He said, hey, ask them if the dad's like an old Western buff. You got a Wyatt, you got a Marshall, do you have a Dylan? You know. So, but anyway, so they got some nice pieces athletically. Ben Frank, who was our defensive player of the year last year, and then all those good linemen. So
they're replacing something.
They're gonna have to retool. But I mean, when you got a quarterback and a running back, they're gonna be able to put together a solid line. So yeah, there's certainly
also
going to
Casey
be.
McKim, I assume, still there.
Oh yeah.
So you got some program consistency, which helps.
They
right?
do. There's some continuity there, and he's settled in very well, and he's kind of brought the Valpo method, with him. Valpo's a grinded out, run first type of offense, and Marshall's a special athlete, and he's going to in a little different build than RJ, but is like RJ can do a variety of things and can improvise and kind of draw the plays up in his head there, like you're on a like on a dry erase board there, and you can't account for that at a quarterback position. So yeah, they're going to be okay. I don't know if they were really close to going to the state finals last year, and by all rights, I mean they right there should could have should have we won that game and did not. So and 4A is pretty strong. They're moving over into the Western sectional. I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, might be with Hobart and Lowell now, so the schedules
those are tough.
It's gonna be getting a little tougher for them, but yeah, they're gonna put a competitive product on the field, and we'll always good thing about the schedule is we'll find out a lot in week one because and I get this and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot there. The milk can, I think it's called the milk jug. See, man, I my first year over here.
I had to look at
my first year over. Thank you, because I got it wrong the first year, and because I had a young writer, Jack Perotti, went on, to do some other things, and I told him wrong, and he had it in the story as and I'm still gonna get it wrong now. So
milk jug, yep.
And he got it wrong there, and we just got raked over the coals for it. Well, that's a heck of a way to introduce yourself to LaPorte Kearney. You can't even get the rivalry trophy, the title of the rivalry trophy right, but that'll be fun. I mean, it always is. It's always a pretty decent indicator of what's coming up for the season.
Well, I want to thank you so much. Football's just right around the corner. It might not seem like it, but I know they're starting with camps and all these kind of things. It's happening, and so we'll get into talking more football coming up in the next months and stuff like that. Hey, I want to thank Jim for being on the show. Jim, where can people find you online?
They can find me online at at JP8185 on Twitter. Feel free to DM me unless you have something negative to say. Then then you'll get blocked. So, no, I generally don't block people. And then
you haven't blocked me yet. So
no, I have not. I'm not. Obviously, I'm not much of a blocker. So, but yeah, feel free to reach out, and I'm pretty accessible. So just ask my wife. You spend 16 hours a day in front of a computer screen and spend the other 8 with my eyes closed. So.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being on the show. Thanks for talking local sports with us. And thanks so much for listening. We'll be back on Friday. We're going to be talking to about Paladin and disability rights in LaPorte County and things like that. So if you want to listen to this, please do share our podcast, share all of this stuff. If you ever miss an episode, go to hometownnewsnow.com and you can find the podcast there. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Keep cool this week and keep listening.